We know what you're all here for, though. Let's get stuck into last night's action in Wrocław. Dominic always laughs at my pronunciations. There's another one for you, Dominic. Poland, Oleksandr Usyk getting the win in the 9th round against Daniel Dubois. It wasn't without controversy, though. Rapping Rob Kelly, we'll come to you first of all on this one. It was quickly apparent to me Daniel Dubois was going to need a Foreman versus Mora moment, which he may or may not have landed in round 5. Up until that point, Usyk looked too fast. He looked too sharp for Dubois. But let's get right to the main point of contention, Rob. Forget about the first 4 rounds. To low blow or not to low blow? That is the question.
Yeah, I tell you what, like I keep mentioning, like we're in a solid time for boxing in 2023, and this fight was kind of flying under the radar with all the excitement of Crawford's bench and Tank Garcia and all that. But it was still an intriguing fight for me when we were talking about it last week, purely because Dubois can whack, and you know he's had a new trainer at Don Charles. I think he did. I wouldn't say exceptionally well, but a lot better than I thought he'd do. But up to that point, let's get to the nitty-gritty of it. I think the key takeaways from that are, yes, it was borderline. You could see it being called either way. I didn't think it was on the low side where, you know, but then again, I'm not getting hit where the cup is getting fucking dragged up into my balls either. Like, so it's easy for me to say that, but from the impact and the TV angles that we saw, it certainly looked like it was a legit knockdown. Now, couple of questions like, does Usyk then just take a breather and get back up like he did with Beterbiev, or did he need that time to recover from that body shot before he could compete? Now he did come back. So did he need that time? I think he did, because I think even after the 3.5 minutes or whatever he had to rest in between, absolutely dominating every second of every round. When he did get caught after that, his legs seemed to dip a little bit. I think Dubois buzzed him on the bell at one stage as well. So he had moments in there, but I think as well as that, you factor into the fact that you're up against a master boxer, wily character, a bit of a fucking Bud Crawford in that you hurt him and then he fucking comes back to try and take your head off. Like, Usyk's got everything about him. But then you have to add into that the fact that Dubois, after kind of showing us a couple of times at this stage, if shit gets too hot, he looks for a way out. And I think like, you know, he took the knee in the round before that to save, but then still was looking at the 8 count like dodgily in the first knockdown, and then the second time you just know he's not trying to beat the count. Like, so I think that has to be said. Nothing to get no shots against Daniel Dubois, a very young guy, very inexperienced against that kind of caliber opposition. I thought he did very well. Probably should have had his moment. I think hometown decision and all that's a bit harsh. I just think the ref was having a bit of a stinker anyway. Like, there was another stage Dubois buckled him with a body shot and he stopped the action to ask Dubois, was he okay? So maybe it's a bit of a homer or whatever. I don't think it's like a conspiracy theory. I just think the ref was having a stinker. He probably missed that and probably could have called it a knockdown, but then you have to think, does Usyk get up and come through it? Seeing as the way he dominated the rest of the fight for every second, you'd have to say no point in a rematch. Like, Usyk hasn't fucking figured out at this stage, and it'll be only earlier. And I don't think fucking Dubois really wants it when it comes to it. And that's my kind of overall takeaway of the event.
Just a quick one, Rob, because I know you'll like this one. A few comparisons have been made to Bogalotta, but I think that's maybe a bit of a lazy comparison considering the fact in that contest, but Bo was the hometown fighter, very much so, as we saw straight after the fight. And also, Galotta was boxing his ears off and then decided for some strange reason to start whacking him in the balls. So there are, you know, it's not a strict comparison, I don't think.
But I think that's a good strategy for Daniel Dubois versus Oleksandr Usyk. Like, master the dark arts, dip low, hit him once as hard as you can in the fucking balls, and if he can't recover, then you have a chance to knock him out because he's going to be fucking feeling it for the rest of the fight. Take the point. You're losing every round anyway. Take the point deduction, hit him in the balls again. Like, that's what I would have done. But I think that I just think that Usyk there's no point in Frank fucking trying to lobby the fucking WBA for this rematch and all, make such a big deal out of it. There's no point. Usyk will fucking decimate him the next time. He did well enough. Probably should have had his moment. He didn't. There's fine margins in boxing. That's what it is. Like, but not a bad strategy for Daniel Dubois if he wanted to go after Usyk's balls and make him very feel.
Well said, Rob. He definitely felt that one all right. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I have thrown the StreamYard link in the chat, so if you want to have your say and you have something reasonable to say, then feel free to jump on. The StreamYard link is in the chat. Andrew Thicket says, looking at several different still shots from around the net, it is actually clear to see Dubois' low uppercut shot trajectory. Matty, over to you on this one. I wasn't sure at the time, and I'm still not sure now. There's a multitude of angles, screenshots, opinions going around ahead of the incident itself. you can't automatically assume, which maybe some people have, that if Pabon had have called it as a legitimate shot, Usyk then would have been counted out. Dubois would have won. We don't know for sure what would have happened in that scenario. He was hurt, no doubt about it. And a logical conclusion could be that a Dubois stoppage was then on the cards, but we don't know what would have followed for sure. We've seen Usyk maybe hurt against Joshua in the past. I think he would have dragged himself up and carried on fighting. Now, what condition he would have been in, and if he would have been able to see out the round, let alone the fight, is open to debate. But the automatic assumption that if it had been turned into account, he would have stayed down, I don't think you can necessarily follow that conclusion, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there, Steve. There's no guarantee on how anything would have gone following that if it had been ruled a knockdown. Would he have made the count? Would he have not made the count? Would he have survived the round? The only thing that I think is really relevant is that Pabon pushed Usyk to take more time. Usyk said he was ready. Pabon said, no, take another minute. And that's where I think the bias was at. If there's anything that anybody's looking for that just seems a little bit off kilter, that's where I would be going. As far as that goes, the shot, I mean, you look at it, I mean, it all depends on where the ref was at the time. I think it was a real 50-50 shot, Steve, depending on where you're standing. So what you can't really cry about that, but the extra time I think is worth complaining about if you're looking for how Dubois might have been done wrong. But then you look at that, he didn't really go guns blazing necessarily after that either. So there was a little bit of a desire deficit on the part of Dubois anyway. So he didn't seize the moment regardless. You know, sometimes it doesn't go all your way, but you clearly have a guy that's a little more limited in front of you following that. You should probably follow up. And he didn't. And then he paid the price down the stretch. Just kind of threw in the towel at the end there. Didn't seem like he wanted much more. But you know, I still think you can really big man Usyk, and I gotta lean Fury if they ever do get that on.
Yeah, I think this time Pabon's actions were egregious, but as Tosh says there, I've been vocal in the past about referees do annoy me who kind of trying to rush the fighter back into the action whenever they do have 5 minutes. But even I was starting to get fed up with this one, and Usyk did say at times that he wanted to continue, and the referee was kind of pushing him back. So these hometown decisions, we know the way they go. We know where their bread's buttered, and Pabon has been a bit of a dodgy ref in the past. Andy, Tim Bradley was on the ESPN call for some strange reason, along with that idiot Tessitore. He was calling for more body work from Dubois, but Dubois was maybe a little bit reluctant to throw the low shots after that, maybe worried about getting a point deduction or something, especially considering the fact Usyk seemed to be micromanaging the referee at times. We've seen this in the past, haven't we? Constantly pointing over to the referee, and then the referee jumping in and doing whatever the hometown favourite says to them to do.
Mate, with how many fights have we watched through the decades of following the sport? We've seen, egregious low blows, go unpunished. We've seen the Hatton respond to Zhu's low blow. We've seen borderline shots go uncalled. We've seen Bogalotta literally ruin
Combos to the balls.
Combos. Exactly. We've seen last night, for example. We've seen the situation with Dubois. We've seen the situation with Kuzabutsky, and we've seen the situation. The referee in the Anderson fight made it absolutely clear where the low blows are legal. Sorry, where the shots are legal on the body roughly at the front. Now, at first on live viewing, I thought Usyk was maybe buying it a little bit. At one point, I did notice his right hand shaking a little bit. I said, he's not looking good. And I thought at one point when he tried to kind of like roll over, I thought he was going to vomit at one point. He looked at the corner, he wasn't looking too good, and then when he did seem to kind of recover, you seen the eyes just switch, man. It was like he just marked down Dubois' life, or exit life basically, because he came out there. If you look at it as well, the fifth round, I know he got caught maybe late in the round, but look how he responded once that action was started. That he was on the front foot, and he was pretty okay. He wasn't on the front foot immediately, but he was eventually coming back into it, more into it actually before the round ended. I personally think after rewatching it all and just looking at the stills and that as well, as I think it is a low blow. I think it's below the belly button, therefore it is a low blow. No, we don't know exactly what's happened in that area when he's took the punch. Has it brought the cup up? Has it caught his knackers? Has it really twisted them? Look, if you've been hit there, or I play football as well, if you've ever taken a football there before, and that, it's bloody painful. You know yourself how you react. You go down to your knees. You're in a bad shape for at least 2 or 3 minutes. Depending how hard you've been hit and that. Now, I think Usyk is pretty honest guy, but he's also using the experience in that there as well. If he's hurt, obviously he's going to take time out. They didn't take the full 5 minutes, for what I recall, was what 3.5, 4 minutes he took. He wanted to get back into it. The referees remind him you need to take the full 5 minutes. I think Dubois had been landing some borderline again low blows throughout the fight. There was Usyk maybe mentioned it to the referee as well. We've seen fighters mention about punches behind the head, behind the ear, behind the rabbit punches, so to speak. The only thing I could probably say there last night, probably didn't go down too well, was the referee wasn't clear in his instructions before the fight. He made it absolutely clear. He should have made it clear there in front of the public where these blows can land. Unless he's done it behind the scenes, and everybody knows there. We've got Frank Warren and that coming out now saying as it was discussed. You've got Team Usyk saying something different. So it's just what we need in that. And another thing as well is that this whole thing, this whole situation, has now detracted for the fact is that Dubois quit. He quit the fight. He got stopped on a jab there last night, by the way. Let's not forget that as well. A
swivel jab, Andy. A swivel jab.
I don't care. It's a jab. And he took the knee again for the second time. And look, I'm not going to say that he swallowed it or whatever and that. But look, what's everybody else going to say? Right? And you're right, Steve. We just don't know how Usyk would have reacted if the referee started counting. Would they have got up? Would they continued? Would they take a knee again, for example, if he was that badly hurt? Maybe try and buy himself some extra time, get through the round. Maybe take a couple of knees, lose the round, lose the points, then come back into the fight, which he ultimately did. It's probably just poor communication. That's another thing as well is with Dubois. You had your chance, mate. You had your chance. You should have been right over the top of him at that point, and you let it go. You absolutely let it go, and then you let Usyk get back into the fight, and then 4 or 5 rounds later, that was it. But at the end of the day, it is the referee's discretion where he decides that what's low, what's not, and that. I think Usyk's belly button would have been roughly where his top of his cup was, or the top of his trunks would have been. That's where his belly button would have been. Okay, so therefore, if you look at the shot, in my opinion, yes, it's only my opinion, it is a low blow after going back and checking it. And I did check the WBC rules, although the WBC title wasn't on the line. It also states as well, low blows are any part of the body below the navel. It was below the navel, in my opinion. Low blow. Look, job done. But we don't need a rematch. Maybe after he fights, what's his name? Hergovich, possibly. But I think the low blow detracts for the fact that how the fight ended, and that was with Dubois taking a knee and then basically seeing out the fight and got stopped in a jab, basically.
Yeah, well, pretty much. A swivel jab or an up jab, as Seb would have said back in the day. 8 count says Dubois had already low-blowed Usyk many times before the controversial knockdown. The ref wanted Usyk to recover properly. And I agree with him. So there you are, 8 counts jumping in. Terry Woodfine says Triple D is a leader of the BLM movement, proves it by taking the knee at every opportunity. For fuck's sake, Terry. Matty, what about you? What about you on the ending there? What happened at the end? Had Dubois rather shot his bolt? Did he want out of the fight, as Andy suggests? Other people have said this as well. Talk to me, Matty.
Yeah, I think he wanted out. I think he might have felt like the deck was a little bit stacked against him, and he just couldn't seem to find any shots that were meaningful after that. Well, I mean a couple, but really nothing in the last few rounds of the fight. And I think it really started to get bad for him when Usyk started to be able to find that right hook. He'd been looking for it early and just missing it a shade every time. And then it seemed kind of after the low blow round that he started finding a home for it. And that seemed to kind of spell the end for Dubois. And I kind of do think he took the easy way out on it. I don't know if he had a chance at that point in time. Yeah, he did seem like he went to the knee and just waited for the count to get near 10 and decided to take his check and go home. Hopefully he was on time for his return flight, though. I heard that he missed his departing flight.
Oh, well, hopefully he's all right anyway. Number one, Matty picked up on something that I was going to mention. I completely forgot about it there, actually. By the way, the StreamYard link's in the chat if anybody wants to jump on and have your say. The StreamYard link's in the chat. Number one, Paulie TV, I don't know who that is, maybe Malinazzi, I expect, was saying the canvas was wet. Didn't seem that way to me. This is something they're going to have to get on top of.
You could hear it. You can hear their
you
feet
could see it pissing down. But this is something that I mentioned a few weeks ago when we were at the Failer. And the fighters had water on their back. It was the wind was starting to blow it into the ring and all. They're gonna have to get a grip on this, Same again last night. If it starts pissing it down with rain, these sort of 10 feet square, whatever it is, canvases over the ring with the rain coming in, the wind and all the elements and whatever, they're gonna have to get a grip on this, Matty, or stop having outdoor fights or something, because this is starting to become a problem, I think.
Yeah, I think there's issues with having all these things in football stadiums, and it's I go back thinking about one of the worst ones I recall was probably Sergio Martinez against Martin Murray in Argentina, and that one, I mean, Sergio with his bad knees, I mean, that was just spelled disaster. Lucky to get out of there with a win in that fight. And they're trying to obviously get them as much occupancy as they possibly can. But I mean, given it's so much more prominent for storms to happen in the afternoon, or excuse me, more so in the evening times, they might need to think about pulling some of these fights back a little bit, and I think a lot of people in England would certainly appreciate it, because then they might be able to catch a train back home walking out the doors. So something worth considering going down the road, because this does seem to be fairly common when you think about it.
Yep, all you promoters, listen to Matty there. He's given the advice. Chase Athletic says canvas was soaked. K2 Promotions. We'll be talking about K2 Promotions later as well, regarding Anthony Yigit. Andrew Thickett says Dubois, a bit of a conundrum. Seems willing to fight anyone, regardless of their advantage in experience and skills, yet dislikes the fight when he is facing adversity. Mark Stanton says at least Michelle Hoare Phelps didn't get wet. I don't have any opinion on Michelle Phelps, to be honest.
Jesus.
But I'll tell you what, she's
How do you know she didn't get wet?
What the fuck? That seems fucking senseless.
She's worse than Bellew, isn't she, man? Since she retired, we've seen her more often than ever, I think. She's turning up all the time in all the videos.
She retired 3 weeks ago.
Well, now she's living off of student loans. So I can live the good life.
Well, I think Steve, I think the semester starts back in September, possibly, mate. So
all right, okay.
It's summer break.
Yeah, still freelancing at this point.
Freelancing, right?
She'll be going to Acapulco in late March for spring break.
Well, good luck to her. Good luck to her. That's what I say. There's the picture on the screen that was sent to me anyway. Here's one for you, Andy. A bit of an interesting take. Latika Dog. I don't know where this came from. Reddit or somewhere. I think someone put it in the Nutters chat. It was definitely low, and I think Usyk saw what happened to Lomachenko with Salido and has vowed to never let that happen to him, because he seems very sensitive to low blows and is super quick to call them out, which I think is a good thing, says Latika Dog.
I don't think the first thing that went through Usyk's mind when his bullets were rippled, man, it was about Loma getting
a fight nearly 10 years ago.
Exactly, mate. I think he's just kind of worrying about, I ain't feeling too right now, guys. I might need to jack this, like, fuck, come on, man. Well, yeah, I take his point. It's definitely a low blow, but, I had to go back and watch it, so I kind of changed my opinion. It's okay to change your opinion, guys. Those that are running the narrative, he definitely looked for it. He definitely looked for it. I made a mistake, and I've changed my mind after looking at it in very kind of close detail.
Us men are stubborn, Andy.
I know, but then again, you want views and clicks and retweets and that type of thing, and that, So, but I don't think the first thing he's thinking about is Loma Salido. I'm just thinking about, holy fuck, man, my bollocks or whatever, and that, So, look, only Usyk knows how much pain he was in. Yes. We don't know, as I says, the trajectory that cup took, if it did take anything like that. But as I says, on second viewing, on many viewings, different angles, that type of thing, it does look like it's below the belly button. Therefore, illegal. So it's okay, guys. You can change your opinion. It's okay to be wrong. Okay, I was wrong, and I've changed it. So.
This morning for breakfast, Usyk had eggs, and they were scrambled.
Oh, yeah. Scrambled eggs, scrambled brains. Let's look at what's going to happen for the next, for the both of them. Daniel Dubois, I'm not really sure where he's going to go. He had a nice little payday, though. That's the main thing, I suppose, Matty. First, AJ and now Dubois have both enjoyed success to Usyk's body. Will the third man of UK boxing, Tyson Fury, will he be the man to finally snap him in half and end this unbeaten run?
Do you just get this weird feeling like Fury, he's just such a fucking weird guy, and as much as he pisses us off, he's so talented, and he He can box when he needs to box. He can big man when he needs to big man. I just get this feeling like he's just like this whole waiting on Usyk thing and making us think that he's afraid to fight him is just all bullshit because he's, fucked out of his gourd. And he's going to go in there and he's going to take out Usyk in 6 rounds or less. He's just going to go in there and just wallop him to the body or not. I don't know. He's just going to big man. I mean, if you look through Usyk's resume at heavyweight, I mean, impressive as much that he's come up. He hasn't exactly fought a murderer's row of heavyweights at this point in time. And he hasn't really fought anyone who has the ability to do that. That's just not AJ's style. He's too tepid, too passive, working behind a jab to fight that kind of fight. So it'll be it'll be interesting. And if you look regarding him taking his body shots, I find it really interesting. If he's bulked in the stomach, his abs are still visible. He's still cut, but he's got bulk in his stomach, like he's visibly been trying to build himself up there. So it's just something I noticed.
Well, Usyk hasn't fought a murderer's row of heavyweights. Do you think the fact that he unified the cruiserweight division undisputed and then moved up as the smaller man and beat Joshua twice, etc., gives him a little bit more kudos?
Oh, I think it's incredible. I think doing that assured a trip to Canastota. He's a Hall of Fame fighter for what he's done at this point. But it doesn't mean it doesn't mean that he'd be able to hang with some of these other heavyweights. Like, I really think, regardless of who has the belts, the heavyweight division is still Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. They're not 1A and 1B before they fought, but they're still 1 and 2 by leaps and bounds, honestly.
The chat are still divided, much like Usyk's ball sack. One foam says, no way was it a low blow. Usyk doesn't like the body shots, rolled around the ground like a child. Lost all respect for him. No more respect from one foams. AKA Leslie Nielsen. Kaiser Cobra says, shots to the top of the cup can hurt. Watch Tito hit Vargas on the belt and the visceral reaction. Of course, Vargas didn't milk it, Andy, but he was hurt.
I'm just trying to rack my brain, actually. All the people have milked something. Remember Floyd milking that Maidana apparently bit him through a boxing glove and a fucking mouthpiece, and he was crying about it and that. Did you lose all respect for Floyd there for trying to kind of buy a decision? What about Corrales spitting out the mouthpiece twice against Castillo to buy time because he needed the time to kind of recover? And what happens? Comes back with one of the greatest finishes of all time. Ali getting dropped off Henry Cooper, and then all the shenanigans.
The glove shit.
The gloves, this is a fight, man. What the fuck?
It's boxing, not ballet.
Yeah, Christ.
If it was up to me, Orlando Salido would referee fights. That's what I want.
You should get back to the refs back in the 20s and 30s, man. Literally just didn't even bother with the mandatory 8 count. Just let the fighter hover over the top of the guy when he's on his knee. And see the second he stands up again, just start punching him again.
That's right. Yeah, the fighter wasn't pushed back to the neutral corner, were they? Until quite recently.
It all changed with Dempsey Tunney too, and that was a rule that Jack Dempsey himself asked for that ultimately cost him the fight.
That's right. He'd asked for it after the fight with the Argentinian. Was it Firpo or something, I think? And then it came back to bite him years later.
I think it might have been after the first Tunney fight. Wasn't that the second one?
I thought it was to do with the Firpo fight, but I'm not arguing with you. I'm no historical genius.
The fact I know that much should impress everybody at this point in time, so we'll just run with it, Steve.
Terry would find that, you just remember me mentioning Hopkins. Hopkins was always crafty, using the referee as blindside as well. Hector Camacho did it as well. Hector Camacho to try and buy time. See when he went into a clinch and the referee split them up.
Boxing is not a gentleman's sport.
Watch Camacho. Watch what he does. He always goes behind the referee, so it then gives the referee's then lost him. So he's trying to look for him. He's then got to kind of step back, and I get that used to buy Camacho 5-10 seconds of kind of precious rest. They were all at it, man. They know how to buy time if they're hurt. If they're hurt by an illegal blow or a legal blow, whatever it is, they know how to.
Sweet Pea used to do it too. He used to swing his hand over to the opposite side of him and catch his opponent behind the head in a clinch and shit like that. He would do all sorts of freaky shit on the opposite side of the referee.
Duran stopped Ken Buchanan with a volley of low blows.
He ruptured poor Ken's bollocks, man.
See, and poor Andrew Galotta watched that and he thought, poor Polish kid is like, oh, that's a great finishing method right there. And then he gets disqualified for it. It's just bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. Bogalotta. Andy, you've often described this sport as the red light district of sports. We're talking again about controversy. Once again, this week we've seen some more controversy in boxing. Robert Hellenius as well getting done for PEDs. Again, another one who needs to keep the receipt. We're seeing mismatches all the time. We're going to Adam Hamed shortly. Dodgy counts. We're seeing suspect officials both in and out of the ring. Relentless PED issues. Drugs, cheats exposed. Boxing will always survive. We're always going to be the dickheads every Sunday evening speaking about it. But is the sport's credibility on the ropes a little bit at the moment?
What credibility, mate? Fuck's sake, it's no credibility, man. How it still survives, actually, with the amount of credibility it's got left, man. It's incredible. Because just the amount of shit that goes on, the amount
It was
dishonest stuff. I mean, look, you had a fighter there last night, meant to be fighting on primetime television, who then gets hit with legal letters and he gets stuck on fucking YouTube. You know what I'm saying?
So despite the fact that there were great fights and some incredible quality of fighters at the time, 90s heavyweight boxing is what killed boxing's credibility. Because if you think about it, through everything, you had Tyson going to jail on a rape charge. You had Tyson biting Holyfield's ear. You had Morrison testing positive for HIV. You had the Fan Man incident during Holyfield against Bo. And I mean, I'm sure I'm even missing things. You had what's his bucket crying in the ring against Lennox Lewis.
McCall. Yeah,
it was like, and it all kind of fit in with that whole Jerry Springer era, though, right? You know, right guys, right time in its own way. But from there, it was just kind of a moral decline. Kind of just echoes society in its own way, does it not?
I don't know what he's been caught for, Hellenius, but the thing is, he deserved to be banned for putting up a performance because he even took the drugs in the fucking first place, and he puts up that performance. It was pretty pathetic, actually. So I don't know what it is he's been caught for, to be fair. So it could be anything. But yeah, look, I think Larry Merchant said it best. What was it he said again? It says nothing can kill box. No, what was it he said? What was Larry Merchant's?
If I was 50 years younger, I'll kick your ass.
No. It was like he says nothing can destroy boxing yet. No, nothing can improve boxing, but nothing can kill it, or something along those lines. You know,
I wish Donnie was here. He probably fucking know that one.
I've kind of butchered that a wee bit, but mate, we see it every week. There's always some sort of controversy, and then again you've got people picking sides, and it's been pretty full on. I mean, I see Derek Chisora trying to bring race into it now as well, and that kind of a black man winning in the white man's backyard, especially Poland. Oh, mate, fuck's sake, come on. They need that shite. And then obviously, just bring it up, Nazim Hamed's son literally fighting a 17-year-old kid who looked like he's malnourished, man. Look at he needed fucking 2 plates of porridge, man, for his breakfast.
Honestly, man,
you could be the next Manny Pacquiao at that rate.
You look like a rake, man. And you've got Hamed saying after the fight that I'm a dangerous man. A dangerous man? You just pick up a 17-year-old fucking laddie.
A rake victim.
17-year-old.
That was bad. That was bad, wasn't it? That, my God.
It just the vibe I get off it. I get the vibe off a son who is living a millionaire lifestyle in Dubai or whatever it is, and he's fucking bored with life. So I'll become a boxer. See everybody else doing it. Well, I've never fought before, amateur or professional, so this is my first fight apparently. So we don't know what he's going to be, but I tell you what that was, man. That was like watching a Chris Eubank Jr. Early doors fight. That's what that was.
Yeah. Oh, I thought even worse. It was watching, like, do you remember Andrew Flintoff had that fight? I thought it was into those kind of realms.
Well, so speaking of the fuckery afoot here, so I mean, is it good enough time to go into Yigit and everything that he said regarding what he dealt with?
But, I've got a video to play of him. Let me just close this out quickly. Sorry, Matty, because Des said the top of the short sits level with the navel, low blow. Amazed how many boxing people are pushing Dubois was robbed narrative. Perhaps it's to distract us from the way Daniel capitulated.
That's what I said
at the end. That's what Andy said as well. And a more important comment, more serious comment from Jason. He says, "Be hard to low blow Donny with that suit on." He had got quite a high waistline, Andy, when we saw him last time.
And the bulging waistline as well, mate. Inshallah.